The crunge is one of the few grooves that Zeppelin did that was one of the few tunes that Zeppelin did that was just odd meter all over the place. But what's remarkable about it is that Bonham makes it sound like 4. He just makes everything feel good. So I transcribe a bit of that. And then We're Gonna Groove, which is the next to last page, I think, in the handout, is just 8 bars from the Royal Albert Hall concert that when John Bonham played with Led Zeppelin when I think he was 20, playing sold out Royal Albert Hall. And it's 8 measures that the first time I heard it, I thought for sure he turned the beat around. But no, if you look at the transcription, it is just very clever. And I think people talk about Bonham's feel and his groove, but what you didn't hear on a lot of the records was how he could stretch out live and just play some stuff that would completely blow your mind and sound like the beat was turned around, and you realize that it was there the whole time. It's pretty frightening. So before we go, I want to talk a little bit about some of his fills. And some of us that listen to a lot of Led Zeppelin are probably familiar with how fast he could play singles and how it sounded like a machine gun around the drums. One of my favorite tunes to listen to, just for John Bonham's fills, is Your Maker. Some people pronounce it Dire Maker. It's kind of a little bit of a cheesy, goofy tune, but in my opinion, every fill in there is a perfect rock and roll fill. And so if you can find that sheet, Dire Maker is what it looks like. If anyone's curious about where the title of the song came from, come talk to me afterwards if you're over 18 and I'll explain it to you. Otherwise, it's only with parental guidance. Really quickly, we don't have time to talk about every fill, but the sheet that says Your Maker, fills and drum breaks. I didn't see any point in transcribing the whole song because what I find interesting about it is the fills. Instantly recognizable to a lot of drummers, most of these fills are. And what I think makes them sound so great is a very simple concept called natural sticking. Now, some of my students in the room already know what natural sticking is. The concept of natural sticking is when we practice at home, we're constantly trying to catch our weak hand up with our strong hand. When we perform, we always want to put our best foot forward, or I guess in this case, our best hand forward. And so we always put our strong hand on the strong beat, our weak hand on the weak beat. Not always, but in many cases, that'll make whatever it is you're playing sound really good. In the meantime, you can try to catch up your weak hand with your strong hand in your practice. And so the way that works is I have dissected a little bit the fill starting the second line of the Your Maker fills drum breaks transcription page that sounds like this. Very simple. Now, in practice, if we have a rhythm like that and we're just playing on a pad, we might default to saying, okay, I'm gonna alternate my hands purely. I'm never gonna double up on one hand. But if you look on the next page, there's a method for learning how to play these fills and make them sound just as good as, well, hopefully just as good as how John Bonham made them sound. Whoa. Okay, I went the wrong way. There we go. Your Maker fill worksheet, natural sticking. I'm not going to read that whole paragraph to you. All you guys can read, I think. So the first thing I always have students do is to just count it. Or sing it. Gat, gat, dum, dum, da, gat, gat, da, gat, do, go, do, go. A 1 and 2 and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And then play it on one surface, usually the snare drum. But you notice the sticking is such that every eighth note that falls on the beat or on an and, I play with my right hand, and every E and A I play with my left. This naturally occurs to some drummers, hence the name natural sticking. But I find it doesn't naturally occur to a lot of drummers, and when I show it to them, it really helps them out. So here's what that fill sounds like on one drum. Now if I add my left foot, for playing the actual thing that Bonham played, because he really liked to stick his left foot on an eighth notes anytime he played a fill. Just help the band stay with him. Then you break it out to the toms. It sounds like this. And after that, you can go ahead and play the whole thing. Now you can take this approach and apply it to any of the fills in the song, and I encourage you guys to go find it on iTunes or wherever you get your music from and check out the transcriptions. Does anybody have any questions? pummeled everybody in the submission.
Why did Keith Moon say they're going to sink like a Led Zeppelin?
Well, that is true. That's where they got their name from. When somebody, who was it? Jimmy Page was hanging out backstage with the Who, and told him he was putting another band together. They were going to be the New Yardbirds because that was Jimmy Page's old band, and said, "Yeah, I'm going to have these guys in it." And just about every British blues project that tried to turn rock thus far hadn't been that successful, with the exception of Cream. So Keith Moon said that'll go over like a Led Zeppelin. I think it went over a little bit better than a Led Zeppelin. A little bit better. So. Anyway, please feel free to come up and ask me questions. Make sure you stick around and look at all the beautiful, fantastic, lovely drums we have, and go back there and hit stuff. And thanks so much for coming out.
Ron's going to be over here showing you how the demon works, so since that's over there and we don't need to do anything over here, if you want to start to...
I'll see you in a minute.